the meeting to order. We did have a closed session. There's no reportable action out of that, so. I believe we will start this evening with the flag salute led by Troop 228. So gentlemen, it's all yours. But the audience, go ahead, sir. I was gonna tell them to stand.
Audience rise. Color guards, present the colors. Audience salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under
One
God.
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guards, post the colors. Color guards dismissed.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. And if you guys would, if you'd turn around and if you'd, into the microphone, state your name and what school you go to, we'll get your mugs flashed on TV for you.
All right. Dylan Jacobs, Winston Churchill Middle School.
Thank you, Dylan.
Jake Pritchard, Andrew Carnegie.
Thank you, Jake.
Raymond Halverson, Rio Americana.
Good school. Way to go, Brent.
Kevin Leach, Green Oaks Elementary.
Thank you. Again, thank you very much for coming out and doing that. Rhonda, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bruins,
Present.
Councilmember Daniels,
Here.
Councilmember Turner, absent and excused, Vice Mayor Miller,
Present.
and Mayor Slowey.
Present. Do you have the video statement?
I do. This meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, AT&T UVerse cable systems. This meeting is closed caption and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting replays Monday, April 17th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch.
Thank you. All right, approval of the agenda. Any issues with any council members in the order of the agenda tonight? If not, I would accept a motion.
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0. Presentations. First presentation, Rhonda.
First presentation is City of Citrus Heights 20-year celebration, the top 20 presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. It is the first City Council meeting of the month, so as is our tradition for 2017, I'm back to present our top 20 list of the month. So here's the schedule of the top 20 lists since it is April. The list this month is the top 20 community leaders. Most of the lists were generated via a survey, a community survey. We do have 3 of the lists that are social media generated, and the next one that is a social media list is in June, so stay tuned for that. So our top 20 list this month is top 20 community leaders, and as you are all aware, we have an extraordinary community in Citrus Heights, and we have an abundance of community leaders. With so many nominations, it was impossible to boil this list down to 20 people. So instead, I have tried to narrow the list down in 20 slots, but still encompassing every single person that's nominated, and I promise under 2 minutes I will get them all in. So here we go. Top 20 community leaders not listed in priority order. All Citrus Heights residents, former Citrus Heights residents, Citrus Heights Incorporation project members and supporters, those who participate in local service clubs, neighborhood associations, and business groups in Citrus Heights, volunteers, Citrus Heights property and business owners, people who work in Citrus Heights, elected officials that currently represent or have represented Citrus Heights, consumers who shop and dine in Citrus Heights, past and present city manager, chief of police, and city employees, appointed officials who currently serve or have served on a Citrus Heights board, commission, and/or ad hoc committee, people who safely commute through Citrus Heights, folks who visit Citrus Heights, past and present superintendent, teachers, and administrators who inspire Citrus Heights students to exceed their expectations, those who develop, manage, and maintain parks for the Citrus Heights community to enjoy, past and present fire chief and emergency response personnel who serve or have served the Citrus Heights community, Citrus Heights promoters, groups and individuals who provide services to the Citrus Heights community, students who regularly attend Citrus Heights schools on time especially, anyone we have missed who has ever had a positive impact on Citrus Heights.
So, thank you, Stephanie. I know when you first sent me the email, you know, it's somewhat becomes a popularity contest, right? Who voted for you? Did your service club talk to their folks to send them in? So I like the way you've kind of converted that into, you know, a smaller world, if you will, without naming names, because we don't really need to know. However, I'm sure before number 16, you probably meant to put in there past and present police chiefs. You know, may have just been an oversight there.
Oh, I think that is included in number 10.
And, okay, there we go. City
And also
manager.
number 20, right?
All right. Anyway, all right, fair
I
enough.
was just kidding,
I-
but yes.
But thank you for that, because that was, again, you know, really to see 20 names up there versus categories. Good save.
Thank you.
Well, and I
So-
just think your point is well taken. It speaks to how, the fact that we have so many different kinds of leaders in our community that have an impact on our city and our day-to-day life.
Yep.
So that was a good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just stay tuned. Our next list is 20 oldest businesses, and we will present that at the May 11th City Council meeting.
Great,
Thank you.
All right, next item.
Next item is presentation number 5, proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming the week of April 21st to 29th, 2017 as Creek Week.
All right, and then I know we're going to have a representative of the Boy Scouts come and accept this, so I will meet you down front, whoever's going to get that. So Creek Week, if you don't know what Creek Week is, it's where you volunteer to wear your mucky boots, walk in the creeks, and clean up all the trash that's flown down from Roseville. So, I don't, you know, it's amazing to me how many actual miles of creeks we have in the city. Anybody have a? I was going to say, it's pretty close to 27, so I wasn't far off. I mean, for a community that's only 15 square miles, to have almost 27 miles of creeks is amazing to me. So, again, it's April 21st through the 29th. Usually that's Saturday. I don't know which one of those two it is, but volunteers go out and they clean our creeks. And if you haven't seen it and seen the amount of stuff that they pull out, it's really amazing to me. So I'm not going to read through it. You know, we do this every year. Creek Week is what it is, but you're going to go out there and help clean the creeks? You already have, cool. Well, good for you. All right, so did you want to say anything, or do you just want to stand here and get a picture? And
So
Next item is proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming April as Fair Housing Month.
And I'm going to have Vice Mayor Miller help me on that one.
All right, is there anyone here from Sacramento Self-Help Housing or Project Sentinel? Oh, good. Then I'll meet you at the podium.
I get a kick out of this one.
Okay, well, I've got a lot of whereases to read here, and I'll just say that this is, a fundamental goal of government is to eliminate discrimination and assure the rights of every resident to buy and rent a home without regard to race, religion, sex, national origin, disability, family status, age, source of income, sexual orientation, it's a long list here, gender identity, marital status, immigration status, and first language is guaranteed both by Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended in the laws of the state of California. And we as a city believe that every American has the right to live with dignity in any area they desire without fear of discrimination, and we support state and federal protection against discrimination in the sale and renting of housing. And I'll just skip to a few of these whereases and just say we're proud of our commitment to fair housing. We recognize the need to firmly promote fair housing and its policies and practices, and we will continue to work to identify and remove impairments to fair housing choices. And it's signed by our mayor, Jeff Slowey, and I'm proud to present this to you.
Thank you so very much. I just want to let you guys know,
So we can
I just
record
want
it.
to let you know, this year alone, we've had 305 phone calls into the Renters Helpline. And out of those, we've had 9 cases that have come out of it that is actually fair housing. 2 are based on your origin, national origin. 5 were based on discrimination based on your disability, and 2 were family origin. So thank you very much, because I know those 9 families definitely appreciated what you've done and had this ability for them to fight for their rights.
And I'm sorry I didn't recognize you. I don't know
No
your
problem.
name.
Tahiri Craft from
Tahiri
Sacramento
Crafts.
Falls.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any photos? If not,
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Turn right, Steve. There you go.
I'll buy the negatives.
You have a blessed evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve, for helping us out. Next item, Rhonda, please.
Next item, comments by council members and regional board updates.
All right, we will start on my left. Councilmember Daniels.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Today I had the wonderful opportunity to attend the Sacramento Transportation Authority meeting. The first thing I'll talk about is the budget for 2017 and 18. Rest assured that a lot of your money is being spent. The projected budget with everything with revenue and fund balances is about $170 million. So there's plenty of money being spent. One thing I think the city needs to be aware of, that over the first quarter or the previous quarter, we came in $11 million under budget. So as of today, there's a little $11 million egg nest there. Who knows what'll happen for the rest of the year? But as of right now, there's some money there, and maybe that's something that we have to stay on top of, be aware of, and maybe have an opportunity to
Compete for it?
compete for. And I'm sure we have some nice shovel-ready stuff that's, maybe even more attractive to them to hopefully share more of that with us. As part of the STA, for whatever reason, that also includes, you're a member also of the Sacramento Abandoned Vehicle Service Authority. And what that means is that's a program where they go out and they pretty much round up abandoned vehicles. And over the last quarter, they rounded up 3,100 abandoned vehicles. So I guess this is the place to call, the people to call, if you maybe want to get an abandoned vehicle abated and removed. They seem to enjoy doing it since they picked up 3,100 of them. That's it, I believe, for that briefing. The next thing I'd like to know, I want to see what we have to do to reexamine my Planning Commission appointee. I don't know, since we kind of went through an unusual process, if,
All you have to do is bring a name forward, have them fill out an application, And as soon as the application is completed, we will take it up at the next council meeting.
Excellent. That was my question. My question was, what do we have to do to move forward? So.
Kind of in your court to bring a name forward, and but with an application behind
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Okay, we'll do that, and so we'll look for that, I guess, on the next agenda, next council meeting.
Sure, just have whoever you're talking about reach out to Amy.
Okay, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Brett. Jeannie, next.
Thank you. Have had a number of meetings since our last council meeting, along with Mayor Slowey, attended an education 2x2 meeting where we meet, we're going to start meeting quarterly, which I'm very pleased about, with two members of the Board of Trustees of San Juan Unified School District, our city manager and police chief, their superintendent and assistant superintendent, and talk about issues that are education-oriented that affect our community. And one question I had of them was what they are doing to really bring our schools up to par. San Juan Unified within the state falls below the median level on testing performance, and within the district, our schools fall below their median level. And I'm happy to say they do have some proactive programs that are being instituted, and I'm hoping that we see some increased results relatively soon, because having a good education system is very important to the economic development of our community and the economic health. I also attended the REACH board meeting last week along with Human Resources Director Rhonda Rivera, and they had a number of different topics that they were talking about. The big one is this is the year where they're transitioning from one way of doing things into another way of doing things as far as their projects are concerned. So there was discussion about that, and this is kind of a transition year, so they are having to put forward their projects for next year by the end of September, and then for the following fiscal year by the end of December. So that went well. The creative committee for our city branding also has met within the last week, and I serve on that committee. So this is step 2 of a multi-step process where we are looking at how to brand Citrus Heights to get our message out and to attract the kinds of businesses and residences that we want to help support our city as we go forward. So I'll keep you posted on that. Yesterday, I attended the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and the Sacramento Area Sewer District meetings. We had an update on our Echo Water project, which is the big built-out at the wastewater treatment plant. I'm happy to say that from a timing standpoint, we are on track and under budget, which is always good news. They were also looking for volunteers, and I threw my hat in the ring for an ad hoc committee to take a look at what they call non-rate revenue. And there is revenue that comes into the sewer district that it comes from interest, sales of different things that have nothing to do with the rates that you and I pay for sewer service. And that money is used for specific things, such as providing relief for low-income people who so they can have their sewer service on a reduced rate, funding different organizations that deal with conservancy and pure water and so forth. So I'll be interested to see what that committee looks like. We'll probably be meeting over a period of 4 or 5 months. A number of us went to the Chamber of Commerce luncheon earlier this week and listened to Senator Jim Nielsen, who gave us his perspective on the Oroville Dam breach. And it was interesting, particularly following the league meeting that we hosted here last month, where the mayor of Oroville and a couple of their council members and key staff people who were here and spoke very intimately of what that was like for them as individuals, because they were part of the 188,000 people that were evacuated when the spillway failed. And then finally, was yesterday participated with the History and Arts Commission. They are doing a videotape documentary similar to the one they did for the Ladies in White, which actually played on public television, Channel 6, a couple weeks ago. Very well put together documentary, and they're doing one on the incorporation of Citrus Heights And what we went through as a group during the 1980s and 1990s to get cityhood on the ballot. And so that was kind of fun to relive those days and look forward to that production when it's finished. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, going back to last week on Friday, I attended the Greater Sacramento Economic Development Council's Certified Champions Program, and it basically was trained on how to go out and greet new companies and welcome them to our region and tell them the best things about what it's like to live, work, and play in this region. And then yesterday, it seems like a week ago, but it was just yesterday, with Mayor Slowey attended the Greater Sacramento Economic Development Council's Competitiveness Forum, and they had a number of key staff members from throughout the region, cities, attend, and I heard about the same things I learned on Friday, so I won't go too much into that. Monday, I had a regional transit meeting. Of note was we released the preliminary fiscal year 2018 operating capital budget, and that's scheduled to have a public hearing on May 8th. What I will tell you, with how well things are being run now, we've developed a budget for fiscal year 2018 at Regional Transit that is expected to be $1.6 million less than this fiscal year, and through all kinds of very creative ways to operate the business. And so it's feeling like a turnaround being on the Regional Transit's board now, and some of the things that we worked hard for a decade seem to be coming to realization. And so it's great to see the culture changing there. The folks are, happy to be driving the buses and operating the trains, and unless unfortunately someone, like yesterday, stepped out in front of a train, and that's a horrible situation that the staff has to go through. And our thoughts and prayers are both with the man who apparently, I'm not sure, but may have committed suicide. Our thoughts are with his family, and also the operator of the train. That's just a horrific thing for anybody to go through. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Few things. I know Jeannie had mentioned the schools 2x2 that we met late last month with the superintendent. Just for the rest of the council, I think that was on one of our 6-month goals to get those reestablished and kind of just get conversations going with the school district, so we can check that off. The chief, myself, city manager, and Rhonda Sherman, economic development manager, had some business visits. We visited HD Supply, Maida Honda, and Palms Auto. I'll be honest with you, while I shop in town, I don't, it's the second time I've been in HD Supply, and the first time was just a quick walkthrough. But I've been looking for a new front door, and I told them when we were there, I won't say where I've seen it, but it was the exact same front door, was $300 cheaper at HD. Exact same door, exact same model, because I went up and verified that when I got home. So they have some great prices there. It's almost a little bit of a diamond in the rough if you don't know about it. So keep them in mind, and they're in town. I won't rehash the GSEC Competitiveness Forum, since Steve talked about that. Jeannie mentioned the chamber lunch, but I do want to bring up, how many of you are aware that we actually have a live theater in Citrus Heights called Theater in the Heights? I did not know that. It's actually located at 8215 Auburn Boulevard, Suite G. You know where the Baskin Robbins is on Auburn Boulevard? It's behind that. I believe that's the building at one point, and it still may, had a local union representation in there. So I think it's part of that building or the one next door. But they have a website, if I can find it. Oh, theaterintheheights.com. This entire year, they have about 8 different plays that they're doing, and they're all comedies. So, again, that's the first I've heard of it. I don't think Jeannie or Steve were aware of it as well. So I just mention it. They started in January, but interesting, because I know people have been talking about we need more arts and stuff in the town, and here we already have a theater, so I'll just mention it. Additionally, next Tuesday, April 18th, a couple things are happening. From 8 to 9:30, across the hall there, there's, the city and the chamber are partnering to host Second Brown Bag Breakfast Seminar. It's all about social media and business marketing. So if you're a chamber member, it's free. If you're not, it's $15 for non-members, but it should be interesting. And then lastly, the 18th, which is the same day, next Tuesday, the city council is having their retreat, their planning session for the next 6 months that is open to the public. Is that here or is that at the community center?
It's just at the community center.
The city retreat, is that up at the community center? Okay, thank you. So it's 2 buildings up south of here. All right, with that, that covers those items. And I believe the next item is public comment. And since our clerk is running down the aisle, I'll go ahead and read it. Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the audience may address the council on any item of interest to the public and within the council's purview, or on any agenda item before during the council's consideration. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, grab one of these blue sheets in the back of the room, fill it out, put your name and contact information on there. I will call you in the order that I receive them. You will have 5 minutes to speak. I do have the ability to shorten that, but I am at 4 speakers, so you will each have 5 minutes this evening. But again, if you don't need 5 minutes, don't take it. All right, first speaker will be Burl Weeks. Good evening, Burl. Michael, you'll be second, Michael Lagomarciano.
Hi, I'm Beryl Turner Weeks. I live on Aspen Ranch Court, which is directly across from the front of City Hall. And I'm here twofold. I don't know if I'll get time to address the Dignity Health, but
You have 5 minutes, you can address whatever you want.
but I'm concerned. I had written an email to the council, the planning commission, and general services following a letter on March 10th regarding the block party and the closure of both the entrances of our housing development and the opening of the emergency gate for traffic for the people in the development, which I am against. Because the emergency gate is there for emergency vehicles. It's not there to accommodate a block party. And I don't feel that both the entrances should be closed. You can keep one entrance open by the roundabout without a lot of problem. And I feel like if you open the gate for this purpose, who knows down the line whether you'll want to open it again. Now that court is an L-shaped court, and there's not room for two-way traffic. There's a lot of cars parked in that court, and so you can only get one-way traffic through that court. So I don't think that would work out anyway, so I'm against that. But I did not get a response from anyone. I did talk to Jeannie when I sent the email, and she is aware of it, I know that. But nobody responded.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Burl. I didn't respond because my response is, thank you for your letter, but we're going to have to disagree at this point. It's going to be a public safety issue. The gate will be open one time in 20 years. I appreciate the fact that you're coming here and telling us, but we're going to disagree on the end result. Okay, it's one day for 8 hours, one time in 20 years, and it's more than likely going to happen. So please continue.
But that's not the purpose of the emergency gate.
That may not be, but we're choosing to use that.
It's
So-
for emergency vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
That's why it was put there.
Is there something
And I
else you'd
fought to
like
get,
address?
not to have it there in the beginning,
Okay, but that,
like
fire
13
code.
years ago.
Can't change fire code.
Well, I was against it, but I don't see that, why that's any reason. When I send a letter to multiple people, I do not get one response.
You also said you were going to come here and talk, so I assumed you would. But please go on. I don't want to take your time.
Yes, well, I'm still against it.
Fair enough.
And then the other topic was, some time ago, I had requested that the lights be dimmed on the outside of the city hall. And it took about 6 months, and I talked to the city manager back in October. And I had called him a couple of times and sent him emails, and I didn't get a response until recently. And he says there's no money in the budget to dim the lights or to provide a solid gate for the emergency gate. Because now we're directly across from the city hall. Now, we were there first. City Hall chose to build the city hall there. So now we find ourselves in the middle of Civic Center. And which gets me to the other question about Dignity Health. What's happening with Dignity Health? Are they not going to build there anymore?
Nope, that's still moving forward.
That's what I hear all the time, but I hear other things too. It's-
I don't know what else you hear, but they are moving forward, and they will more than likely be breaking ground in the next 5 to 6 weeks. That's the best I can tell you, but they are moving forward. They've paid their money to the city, so the contract is signed. They're all moving forward, but, you know, there's other things to consider. The company that's doing the building, what their timing is, so it will happen.
Well,
Maybe
3.5
not as
years, they came to the city and said, we want your land. You know, you're going to have to move somewhere else so that we can have your land. And that
So,
that
Earl-
site's been demolished for 1.5 years.
Burl, I answered your question. It is moving forward. I said 5 to 6 weeks. I might be wrong. I apologize if I am. That's the best that we know. But they paid $1 million. They're not going to walk away from it. Okay?
Well, I don't see why you had to move in the first place. You could have built City Hall on the lot that you owned.
I have a question.
Certainly.
Regarding the lighting, is the lighting a problem for you in the evening where you're trying to sleep? Or is it just something that annoys you, or you just don't like it?
I think it's a little bit, especially the LED lights on the top, on the arch, and then where the insignia is. And you've got the lights on inside the building. I think it's all a bit unnecessary to have so many lights.
Okay.
Because you've got street
I'm
lights.
asking, though, what effect it has on you. I don't want to deal with you don't like it. I want to deal with it creates a problem. So is it creating a problem for evening hours and trying to sleep? Or are you just telling
No,
us that you
not
don't
with
like it?
evening hours. It's just, you feel like you're, I don't know, like you're downtown and there's or the movie theater. That's what some people have said. It looks like a movie theater.
Okay.
There's just too many of them and they're too bright. That's all. And I had asked they be dimmed, and I was told by the city manager that there's no money in the budget. And you're just saying you were 10 million under budget last
No,
quarter.
that's the Sacramento Transportation Authority.
But how
Completely
much
different group.
That's
does
not
it
our,
take?
that's not our money.
Yeah.
okay?
How much does it take to dim the lights? Or even disconnect the top ones? I don't know. I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
Well, it's not if it bothers you in a way that's a quality of life issue. If you just don't like it, then it's probably a moot point. That would be then just your opinion of the aesthetic value of it. What I'm trying to ask you is, does it bother your quality of life? Meaning, can you not sit in your living room? Can you not sleep at night because your bedroom's lit up like a, neon sign? That's what I'm getting at. If you just don't like it, then that's just a personal opinion on the aesthetic value of it. And that's kind of irrelevant, to be blunt, okay? Because it's already built. That ship already sailed. So that's what I'm just trying to understand.
Well, I just bought on that court. It was 18 years ago. I expected a private, quiet court, but that didn't happen for 10 years with all the construction that was going on right on the hill.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Burl. You have 30 seconds if you want to summarize your comments, or,
No, I
Okay.
said what I needed.
thank you, appreciate it. Michael Lagomarsino, followed by David Warren. Michael, you're here for Area 3 tonight?
Yes, sir, I am. My name's Michael Logumsino. I'm the acting president of Neighborhood Area 3, Citrus Heights Area Number 3, Chant, in other words. I'd like to thank the mayor for this time tonight to bring you up to date on our annual report. As you know, each one of the neighborhood associations reports annually on our activities for the last year. For those that don't know, area number 3 is bordered by I-80, Van Maren, and Auburn Boulevard. We have 8 subdivisions, 1 set of apartments, and several commercial buildings and businesses in our area. Last year, one of the big questions that's always asked, what do we use our funds for? Last year, we assisted neighborhood area number 4, with, along with several other neighborhood associations, with repaving of the tennis courts at the Crossroads Park. This year, we are using part of our money to assist one of our developments in trying to actively slow down traffic in their neighborhood by helping them obtain and install some signs that basically state, please reduce your speed in this area. No flashing lights or anything else, just simple signs, trying to help them on the Greenback Wood area. And we've got the signs, it's all been approved, we're just waiting for the city to do the installation. I was kind of surprised when I found out that to install 2 signs in the city, it costs $600, but that's the contract, so just kind of not happy with that. I wish also to report that we're not really a real active organization like some of them. We average somewhere around 15 to 20 people at the meeting. Unfortunately, as with several of the other neighborhood associations, we find that a lot of the people that attend are the senior citizens of our community. I realize it's very hard I know it was very hard for me when my kids were growing up to be able to bring them, which if folks want to bring their kids to the meeting, that's perfectly fine with us. But for them to, particularly school nights, to come and join us. I did forget to mention that we do meet on the 2nd Tuesday of every month at 6:30 here in the community room just across the hallway. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't have a fancy presentation.
That's all right.
So,
Appreciate you coming, Michael.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you do.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I just said thank you for everything you
Thank you.
do.
And David, I know I called you next, but I think you want to speak on 14, so I'll hold it till then if that's all right. So Arthur, you're our final speaker.
Arthur Ketterling, Citrus Heights, and I'll make it short and sweet.
Okay.
That, I just want to ask the council if they happen to know, or you, Mr. Miller, that about the persistence of the, how are they coming on that Measure B? Are they going to be doing it this next year at all? Or what's going to happen? Do you know anything more on that?
No, I don't. I know there's talk of different measures and such, but with the passage of SB 1, I think that kind of throws everything.
Yeah, I heard
wind,
something
so-
about that,
Yeah.
too.
So I know it's being talked about at maybe STA, I don't know, or SACOG, I don't know.
Okay.
I know, RT.
I know it's early yet, but yet you still have to plan ahead, and then it'll be here before you know it.
I know Regional Transit's looking for ways to build light rail to Placer County, Davis, the airport, all kinds of different things, and I don't want to start any rumors.
No, I understand that.
Oh,
I
come on,
understand that.
Let's hear a juicy one. Let's just spread it out there.
That's the best I got.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
Arthur.
Thank you, Arthur.
Bye.
And then we do have one more who got under the wire. So Margaret Kafka. Okay, RT budget great. Margaret, you can have that back.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I do have a question about the RT budget for 2018, the meeting's on May 8th. Could you tell me what that entails? I am in the bus number 95 area. Is that going to affect my bus service?
So Vice Mayor Miller sits on the RT board, so we're going to defer to him, and I don't know if you've read that far in advance.
Well, I think I can safely say, and that'll be what we've already released the budget, the preliminary budget for everybody to read, so you can go on RT's website and read the budget. But I think I can safely say it doesn't involve cuts at this point. Now, we may, trying to improve service, reorganize stuff, so I don't want to say anything is not going to happen. But with relative certainty, I can say that 95 is safe. And that is that the community bus? Or is that the route from Antelope to?
It's from Antelope, Roseville Road.
To Sunrise Mall? Yeah.
See.
Arthur's.
Arcadia?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know the ridership's low, but I haven't heard of any kind of service cuts necessary at this point.
Well, I was wondering if I would be interested in attending this meeting.
I'd always encourage it, and again, you can see the agenda's posted, I believe, the Friday before the 8th, so you can read it, but again, it's not talking about any kind of route cuts. There's so much work that has to go into that.
Yeah.
So, as far as I know, the 95 is safe, and I think Arthur wants to speak, but you've had your turn, Arthur.
I was only going to respond that, as far as I know, to my knowledge, and what I have heard, and what they're saying, even lately, that they said there will not be any cuts whatsoever for 2007.
So, yeah.
Cool.
And so if you didn't hear, like if you're watching on TV, Arthur did comment that he hasn't heard of any talks
Okay.
of cuts or anything like that.
I do have,
He knows.
I would say a suggestion or something to think about. I would like to ride public transportation to get to this meeting, and there are no buses coming by my area at night or on weekends. And so if I depended on public transportation, I wouldn't be here. And the bus 95 runs from Monday through Friday, like from 5 to 5. Does not run at night, does not run on weekends, and that schedule applies to City Ride also. I have trouble making it to my doctor's appointment because it's out actually in Roseville on Douglas between Eureka and College Boulevard. And that's a different county completely. And I'd be spending many hours taking the bus and switching around and
Transfer to
everything.
Orlando, yeah.
Yeah. And also, if I want to attend Holy Family Church on Sunday, I can't go. It's about 4 miles. I'm not going to walk, and the air is getting worse. I can't make it over for the Saturday farmers market at Sunrise Shopping Center because there's no buses on weekends. And I have heard where there have been other cities with similar issues. And my suggestion, that it interests me. And what they did is negotiated a contract with the local cab companies who could fill in at night and on weekends. And then between the city and the local cab company, they they made arrangements for how much the rider would pay and how much the city would pay, because it would be too expensive for someone to actually get a cab here and there. But I thought it was a good idea. I had never heard it before, but I thought it would be, I just passed it along. That's all. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for your comment.
Mayor, if I may, and you brought up a very good point about the cab service. One of the things that is on our consent calendar is we are looking at a service analysis, and we're awarding professional services. It is a tough town to provide transit service because we just don't have the grid layout of a downtown area, but we're looking for ways to get better and provide, rides for those that are either too young to drive or can't drive, or you're, like my case, you're getting a little old and don't want to drive. And so we're going to be going into this looking at all kinds of alternatives, and bringing up the cab company is a great idea. Uber, Lyft, there's some alternatives we can look at, and I'm sure staff will be doing that. So thank you for your comments, and we'll try and get better.
All right, thank you. So that's all the speaker sheets I have. Next item, Rhonda.
Next item is the consent calendar. It is recommended that all consent items be acted on simultaneously unless separate discussion and/or action are requested by a council member.
So we have items 7 through 12. Any council member wish to pull any? If not, I'm open to a motion.
I'll move approval of consent.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 4-0. Next item, please, Rhonda.
Next item are public hearings, of which there are none. Moves us to our regular calendar. Item number 13, subject is Mitchell Farm EIR Award of Professional Services Contract. Presenting this evening is Casey Kempenar.
Welcome, Casey.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm here tonight to talk to you about awarding the contract for Mitchell Farms EIR. As you probably recall, the Watt Communities submitted an application for 261 homes at the Sunrise Golf Course last November. They've been working on gathering all the information necessary to move forward. Our next step forward is to identify a team to help us do the EIR that's required for this project. We received 8 different proposals, and we interviewed 3 teams, and we're recommending to you that you select Dudek as the most qualified team to assist us in this matter. The fees for Dudek will be paid by the developer as part of their development project. So with that, we recommend that you adopt the resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Dudek. I'm happy to answer any questions.
And I realize, can you go back one slide?
Yeah.
I realize that, you know, the city isn't paying for this. This is the developer pays for this, but, you know, I'm seeing from 120 to 350, and we fall, not necessarily in the middle, closer to the top than the bottom. Can you just explain the process that you use? I mean, I know you have kind of a panel that goes through them based on, you know, requirements, et cetera.
Sure. So we review as a team the proposals to determine which firm is the most qualified we want to interview. And then during the interview process, we interview the teams to determine who's going to be the best fit for the community, who's going to prepare the most legally defensible document in the event that we are sued in a project, and who has the most local relevant experience, because we want to make sure they're a good fit for the project.
So in this case, it isn't, the least expensive is always the best, because at the end of the day, we want the EIR to stand up to be legally defensible, i.e. experience matters, plus depending upon who's on their team, that matters as well.
That's correct.
Okay. So at the end of the day, this doesn't cost the city anything, even though we're awarding the contract. We're paid back by the developer.
That's correct.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Daniels?
I'm just shocked by the range. Is it correct to say, or is it not correct to say that, let's say the 4 that are listed with, 100,000 or whatever after that, are these new companies? Are these companies with no track records?
It's a mixture of both. Firms have different experience. Some of them have experience in smaller projects. This is a pretty big project for us. Some of them had maybe cut corners a little bit for things that we wanted to make sure that we were addressing, particularly traffic, we think might be a big concern. So I want to make sure we had their scope for traffic was appropriate, and we want to make sure that they were qualified to do the job. So some of the other firms may be better for different types of projects, but at this point, we felt that that Dudek was the best firm for this project.
So on those ones that you mentioned, those concerns, did they meet what was in, I would guess, an RFP or whatever? Did they meet the standards or the qualifications or whatever in that proposal?
They meet the bare minimum, but again, we're looking for the most qualified for the project. So they meet them, and they get weeded out through the process. So the first step, again, is we review the proposals, and the content of their proposals, the scope, and their work plans, we didn't feel were appropriate. So those were weeded out, and the ones that were most appropriate were the ones we interviewed.
Yeah, my comment would be this is probably, it's really the last open spot that we have in the city, and probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, development of homes. I don't think we've had any bigger than this one. I could be wrong, I'm trying to think of the last 20 years. So this is clearly one I don't want to skimp corners on. Again, I'm fine, you know, because it's not costing us, and I do think we need to go with the best qualified. That's why I kind of asked you to explain the process. It's easy to submit, you know, the bare minimum, but in this case, I'm not sure we want the bare minimum because it's a big project. So, any additional questions for anybody? So, recommendation, I will take a motion if we'd like to, somebody would like to move the recommendation to move forward with Dudek.
I guess I have one question before we make a motion, if that's
Sure.
okay. Did our developer have any input in this decision?
He was okay with it. Input into the decision, no. We review it independently. But he is aware of who we've selected and is okay with the fee.
Okay, thank you.
Then I will move that we adopt the resolution to move forward with executing this contract for professional services with Dudek.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
And abstained. So the motion carries 3-1. Item 14. Next item, please.
Item 14, support for Assembly Bill 1326 Cooper theft aggregate valuation.
Okay.
And presenting is Chief Lawrence.
Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor Slowey, members of the council. My staff and I submitted the staff report and resolution for your consideration in support of Assembly Bill 1326 by Assemblyman Jim Cooper. This has to do with theft and the aggregate valuation thereof. In November of 2014, voters approved Proposition 47, the Safe Neighborhoods and School Act. This proposition reduced penalties for non-serious, non-violent offenses from felonies down to misdemeanors. Specifically, as it relates to Assembly Bill 1326, it reduced the penalties for theft and theft-related offenses where the value of the involved property or theft did not exceed $950 with certain exceptions. Assembly Bill 1326 would provide that these offenses may be punishable as a felony if the property in the multiple commissions of those offenses within a 12-month period has an aggregate value exceeding $950. Specifically, this bill provides that a person who is convicted of multiple offenses of shoplifting, forgery, theft, or buying, receiving stolen property would make it a felony if the aggregate value of the property's forged or forgery items exceeds $950 within a 12-month period. This bill has quite a bit of support from different coalitions, including the California League of Cities, the Retailers Association, the California Grocers Association, Crime Victims United, and the California Police Chiefs Association. In our review of this Assembly bill, we believe it would be good for Citrus Heights and good for our public safety. AB 1326 provides stronger penalties for offenders who commit multiple theft-related offenses, positively affecting our public safety and our retailers in Citrus Heights, and this is in line with the City Council's priorities of public safety. Staff recommends Citrus Heights City Council formally support Assembly Bill 1326 with the attached resolution.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have any questions directly for the Chief? Mr. Daniels.
Just a clarification, because I've heard people feel it's one way and the other way. If a person steals a firearm worth $500, would that be a misdemeanor or a felony under the current law?
If they're in possession of a stolen firearm that's less than $950, it would be a misdemeanor.
And the same thing for a vehicle?
For a vehicle?
For a vehicle. If they stole the vehicle that literally could be worth, $500, quite the clunker, but might be somebody's clunker.
Yeah, I'm not sure. To be honest, auto theft might fall under a different category, regardless of the value.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, we do have one speaker, Mr. David Warren, if you'd like to come up and address us, and he's given us a couple of letters, one from Gainesville about a Walmart program and another from Orange County. Welcome, Mr.
My name is David Warren. I reside in Citrus Heights. I previously sent each of you a letter in opposition, and I request that that letter be made a part of the record of this hearing so that citizens of our community can review the arguments in opposition. Taxpayers for Improving Public Safety, an organization in which I'm a member, opposes this legislation because it's contrary to the will of the people. The state of California has had 2 ballot propositions. Both those ballot propositions were approved by a majority of the people of the state of California. Both of those ballot propositions were approved by a majority of the residents of Sacramento County. The purpose of those changes in the law, specifically as, in this case, as the value of theft as a felony, were to recognize the fact that our prison system is so inundated that a federal receiver was put in place to make sure that certain limits on inmate population were not exceeded. The purpose of these ballot propositions was to make sure that certain crimes would be adjudicated in the counties and addressed by county probation officers so that those persons would have an opportunity for rehabilitation. Councilmember Daniels asked a question about a weapon. It's correct. If a weapon is stolen and it's less than $950, it will be a theft as a misdemeanor. However, if a person has a prior conviction of a misdemeanor or a felony and steals a weapon, that is a felony. So therefore, that situation has been addressed in the penal code. That is not an issue. As to a car, the vehicle code provides that that is not within the ballot propositions. This is to address the issue of the indigent, the teenager, the mentally ill, the habituated, who are typically the people who are involved with petty theft. They have drug habits, they are hungry, they are homeless, they have mental health issues, which unfortunately our community does not address. I provided you with 2 interesting pieces. One is from Gainesville, where Walmart, one of the largest retailers in the country, has changed course on how to deal with shoplifters. They are giving a shoplifter, who is its first event, an opportunity to go to a rehabilitation class, and if they don't repeat the offense, there's no criminal charge brought against them. That's how we reduce criminality. We don't reduce it by increasing the number of people in state prison, which is all this bill attempts to do. It attempts to sidestep the will of the voters in the state of California. We need, instead of this legislation, we need the legislature to fully fund mental health facilities. We passed a ballot proposition guaranteeing substance abusers access to habituation therapy, but the state legislature has failed and refused to allocate the money to provide the beds for that therapy. At this time, there's as much as a 10-year waiting list for those individuals to get into that therapy. Mr. Cooper's legislation would be far superior if it provided further funding for access for these individuals, to stop them, to give them alternatives. My concern is simply this. I have been a chaplain in the state prison. I have watched individuals who, had they been given an opportunity for rehabilitation, would not become recidivists. Prisons do not rehabilitate, they reinforce. They provide methods and education on criminality. If you want drugs in a state prison, you go to a rehab class. That's where you meet the drug dealers. When we come out in our community, that's the same problem. Although well-intentioned, our community will be less safe if Cooper's bill goes forward. And it is, on top of that, is very likely, because of the threat of the federal receiver, that the governor will veto the bill out of necessity to prevent the federal courts from deciding who will be paroled instead of our parole agents and probation individuals. For this reason, I ask that you not endorse the bill, that instead you urge Mr. Cooper to introduce legislation to provide sufficient funding to prevent and reduce the number of individuals who participate in petty crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. All right, the recommendation is before us to support the bill. I would, what's the pleasure of the council?
Have some comments, Mayor.
Please.
I have read Mr. Warren's letter previously given to us, and I thought it was very nice. There's many things in it that I certainly agree with, and I appreciate a lot of the points in there. I disagree with some, as I do with what you said tonight. If I heard correctly, I think you somewhat alluded to the fact that if a person steals a gun for the first time with no previous record, that would be a misdemeanor, and that's not an issue. I can't disagree any harsher. I think there are so many loopholes in what this law, the original law created, that I feel very confident in saying that had the public understood what they were voting for, they would have never supported it. There are criminals roaming our businesses with calculators so they can add up what they're stealing that day so that they don't break the $950 mark. I don't want to say that. I don't think prison is necessarily for rehabilitation. I think it's for punishment. I think if you don't want to follow the rules for whatever reason, and there's a lot of sensitivity to what you said as far as homelessness, drug use, and all of these things that may cause that behavior, the bottom line is, as a council, one of our, if not our first role, is public safety. And in determining what's safer for me, it's to remove that person, from the public. And if it is that they end up going to prison because of their behavior, ultimately they own that. And so I was shocked when this law passed. Again, I think the people didn't even give it enough thought as to what would be the fallout, the unintended consequences. And I'm supporting Assemblymember Cooper's bill completely because of that. I think it kind of fixes what the public misunderstood. But I want you to understand, Mr. Warren, that I deeply appreciate the letter that you presented us and some of the arguments in it.
Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We pass staff's recommendation on the bill.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0. Next item, Rhonda.
Next item is department reports. The first one is City Hall landscaping update. Presenting is Chris Myers.
So we're going to talk about lighting or just landscaping? I'm just curious.
Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Chris Myers, General Services Department. This evening, I'm going to provide you a brief update on some landscaping improvements on Fountain Square Drive and Stock Ranch Road. The map in front of you is a presentation of a total of 40 trees that we will be planting over the next 2 weeks. The yellow dots, orange dots, and red dots, which I will show you representations, are tupelos and maples, and then the blues and the greens are blue maples and blue oaks and live oaks, and they will mirror the trees on the north side of Stock Ranch Road. We have little leaf linden, red maple for yellow leaves for the fall, and then the tupelos. So the trees that are on the Fountain Square Drive side will all be fall foliage trees to provide color, enhance the environment, just add to the canopy and improve the whole appearance. And then we have the valley oaks and the blue oaks on the north side of Stock Ranch Road on the property. The trees are 15-gallon trees and beautiful specimen trees. The trees were provided by the Sacramento Tree Foundation. The irrigation has already been installed. They will all be on a drip system, and then everything will be mulched. And we will process forward, continuing to mulch farther and farther back on the site to alleviate the weed problem as well, and also to maintain a better appearance moving forward. And we expect to have all this done by May 5th. And the 20 trees also represent, there's all those 40 trees, but we have 20 trees and it's the 20th anniversary, so there's a little tidbit there too.
So one quick question from my end. So the sidewalk, obviously, there isn't a sidewalk there now, is there?
There's a sidewalk. This is back of sidewalk, and we're actually, from back of sidewalk, we're coming in 30 feet with the first application of mulch on the Fountain Square Drive side, and then 10 to 15 feet back on the Stock Ranch Road side with the mulch as well.
So my only question is, what's the approximate different distance from the sidewalk to the trees? Only thinking roots over time.
On Stock Ranch Road side, 10 to 12 feet, and you're looking at about 15 feet to 20 feet on the Fountain Square Drive side because you have that little bit of a hill. So we have to get past that ditch as well.
So they're getting donated by the Tree Foundation. Are they putting them in, or are we paying to put them in?
We are putting them in, but we are also using volunteer help for that as well.
Cool. Free trees, free labor.
Yes, sir.
I think I learned in councilman school, you don't, tell them where to plant the trees, but I do have, the live oaks, don't they get really big? And it looked like things were kind of close together there. That's the question.
They're going to go slow.
Right.
That none of us will probably see them get to maturity because, for example, the live oaks on the other side of Stock Ranch Road have been there now since, 15, 20 years.
And they could be hundreds of years.
They can be hundreds of years. I mean, on average for the blue oaks will be at least, a good 200-year lifespan, and depending upon what else happens to them in the environment long after us, based upon what will happen, but you're looking at a 45-foot spread, so, yeah.
Okay.
The intent is to create a canopy and create the shade and also increase the city's urban forestry as well.
So maybe 50 years from now, we might have to thin it out a little bit.
Possibly, yeah.
Down to 50 trees.
Brett, did you have any questions?
Or 70 trees.
You can go back to the map.
Absolutely.
So here's my concern,
Okay.
and I've said this before. This is a roadway. There are cars here. Cars get in accidents.
Mhm.
Cars hit trees and people die. I don't know why we put trees next to roadways. They're beautiful. They're lovely to look at. The leaves will change colors. They'll fall, and then at some point, somebody's going to come along and hit one of these trees. There's no doubt in my mind it'll happen eventually. If you look at every tree that goes along Sunrise Boulevard, things like that, you'll see the markings of cars that have hit these trees. And, I'll support this, but I just wish there was something else that we could do, or if we could dwarf these trees, and which they didn't grow to anything other than, a foot or two wide, maybe at the most, that would be better. But I've seen a car hit a tree that's no more than a couple of feet wide, and the tree never moved. And so it's just, I don't understand why we have to put trees in roadways, but, if it's what everybody wants to do, that's fine too. But it's going to happen. Car's going to hit one of these trees, and somebody's probably going to get hurt.
Oh, comment, and that is on the Fountain Square side, we already have trees.
Correct, we already
Closer than
have.
the ones that we're going to plant. They're set back, 30 feet?
Correct, because the 30 feet on the Fountain Square Drive side is from back of sidewalk, but you also have, 8 feet between Fountain Square Drive and the sidewalk itself initially before you get to the new addition.
And that's kind of elevated a little bit,
Mhm,
too.
it is. It's about
I think it's going to be beautiful.
8-foot incline.
Yeah, I'm
So-
comfortable. Go.
One other question, if I may. On the other side of the street, where we have that mound, and the front half is beautifully decorated, and the back half is just all
Correct.
natural, are we going to finish that off, or?
We started that as a joint venture with Sunrise Park and Rec because that actually is their property.
Oh, it is?
And we're going to initiate moving forward with some more to take the rest of that hill and take it down beyond into just before you reach the retention basin that's on the other side.
Okay.
To clean it up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So you're not, we don't have to pass anything, you're just kind of looking for general direction. While I support it, I'm just going to say one thing. I guarantee you, down the road, when we figure out what we want to do with that property, we're going to realize we don't want all those trees, and we're going to end up cutting some of them down.
Yep.
So that's fine. I just hope, it doesn't cost us too much money when we have to dig those stumps out. But, to me, it's way too early to begin talking about that property, so I'm fine for now, because it might be 10 years before we do anything, I don't know.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to relocate those trees and we
Okay.
won't have to cut anything down.
All right. So, thank you for your department report.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Get
Chris.
cracking.
Looking forward to it.
Next item, please.
Next item is Department Report, Mid-Year Budget Update, presenting is Finance Director Stephanie Daniel.
Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Daniel, Finance Director. Tonight I'll be presenting the fiscal year 16-17 mid-year budget review. If I can figure out how to do this. Oh, there we go. So our major revenues projected to be over budget. Lease income, we didn't budget anything, and we received the $1 million payment for the medical office building. PEG funds, which were some of the upgrades in the council chambers, we received $220,000 for that. Property taxes are coming in $175,000 over budget, and those are the funds that we get to keep from the elimination of RDA. And motor vehicle license fees are coming in $106,000 over budget. Motor vehicle license fees adjust according to property values. So as the property values increase, then we receive more money there.
So it has nothing to do with your car, it has to do with your property tax.
Right, that was something the state did years ago.
That makes sense.
Right.
Question before you go forward.
Yes.
On this property tax, due to the elimination of RDA,
Right.
is that a one, that's not ongoing, is it?
I think this is the last year we'll be receiving it.
Okay.
Since the successor agency has now been finished.
This is it then for that?
I think this is it.
Okay.
Major revenues under budget, sales and use taxes coming in $257,000 under budget. A lot of that has to do with fuel prices and people shopping online, and then store closures as well. Expenses are coming in $239,000 over budget. So $202,000 were those PEG funds that we received that we used for upgrades here. And then there's just various overages in different departments. So, conclusion. We had a starting available fund balance of $344,000. Our revenues are estimated to be $953,000 over budget. We'll be transferring that $1 million to the general fund reserve. Expenses are estimated to be $239,000 over budget, and our ending estimated net position is $58,000 to the good. Yay.
So the 202,000 peg for this room.
Correct. Upgrades.
It's a nice room, but,
It was the technology.
okay. Because I'm saying I don't see it.
It's the cable TV system and all. I don't know all the
Okay.
specifics.
That's fine. Yeah.
Technology explains it.
Right, but that was
Not
money
gonna
we had to use for that, so in order to get
But I
that
have a
money.
question on that. So we
Yes.
had we had money come in to pay for that
Correct.
from,
From the Cable TV Commission.
okay, and then it was spent.
Correct.
And so that 202,000 is part of the 239,000?
Correct.
So 202,000 in revenue offsets that.
Right.
So we really are over budget about $37,900.
Right.
Which is still over budget, but a lot more palatable
Yes.
than, a
And these are
quarter of
just-
$1,000,000.
These are just estimates, and I like to estimate the revenues really conservative, and the expenses I estimate kind of on the high side, just so I have a little bit of a buffer.
Okay, so these aren't actual numbers?
No.
And when
These
will
are-
the actual numbers be available?
Not until the fiscal year closes, and.
Oh, this is this projecting
mid-year.
forward too?
This is our mid-year.
Oh, just to project, oh, okay.
Correct.
Never mind. I thought it was year-to-date.
No, so I took half the year and just projected forward from
Okay.
the 6-month
I'm
mark
cool.
forward.
Thank you.
So, the obvious question I got to ask is, so would this have been a bigger number, Chris, if Henry was here? Or?
No.
I'm just kidding.
So unfair.
I know, I had to throw that out.
So I have a question, I have a further question.
Ouch, I'm sorry.
He's just, don't listen to him. Typically, we aren't over budget on things. We typically were on budget or under budget. So are we making any adjustments to narrow that $39,000 gap, or is it something that we feel we can live with?
We can live with it this year, but we'll be looking at next year's budget to determine what we need to do for next year going forward.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say, moving into a new building, a lot of things change in that. I would guess that if you really probably looked at some of that expense, it probably has to do with, being in a new building, maybe, I don't want to say missing something, but getting in here and saying either something needed to be changed. I can think of some, stuff that we changed out here on the hallway at our request. So all that stuff over time adds up, and, you know, I think there's leeway when
Yeah.
you do move into a new place, so that, the numbers are actually pretty good on that, so.
But maybe I could add just a little more to Councilmember Bruin's question. I mean, it is, we're focused on two things right now, getting this year under budget, and you can see it's tight. I mean, the sales tax alone, we undershot $250,000, which I don't think's happened. So, so we are making adjustments within the departments right now to make sure we do come in under budget. But with the same concepts in mind, we're building this next year's budget as well, making sure we can bring you a recommendation that makes sense while considering some of the factors that we're experiencing this year.
Fair enough.
Technically, it's Henry's budget.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I believe we have one more staff report a department report, sorry.
Yes, we have one more department report, and that would be from General Services, and presenting is Regina Cave.
Must have something to do with SB 1.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, definitely not Measure B. So I'll provide, good evening, Regina Cave, General Services Department. I'm going to provide just some brief information because this is about all we actually have regarding SB 1 and the transportation bill. As council knows, it was voted last Thursday to be exact. It's still on the governor's desk to sign in the transportation bill, but some information has been coming available to the agencies in terms of how those funds will be distributed. So what has been presented to us is that the distribution won't start until this November. That's when the gas tax increase will go into effect. And within the transportation bill, it identifies that the gas tax increase with also inflation, so we won't have to hopefully be revisiting this in 10 or 15, 20 years down the road. They've been using a 10-year window that is just to give a picture to the public and to the agencies to understand within the next 10 years, this is how much revenue you can expect to get. It does not sunset at 10 years, so I want to be clear on that. We will not have to go back for another transportation bill. So for 17-18 revenues anticipated, we're looking at possibly an additional $500,000. This would be coming in kind of in the form of gas tax. We would be setting up a separate account, a separate funding source to be able to track these funds. There is reporting requirements, but the funds are very flexible. Within the transportation bill, it allows for, of course, the obvious, which is road maintenance. We know with Measure B, there was a huge push on Fix It First. The same principles apply to SB 1. But again, there is flexibility. We don't have to put it just specifically to our residential streets or arterials. We can use it as match, either portions or in whole for our federal projects. Complete street supply, so anything related to ADA, safety upgrades, traffic signal components, street lights, and such. So staff will be coming to council next week for next Tuesday's strategic planning with some ideas, and possibly we can discuss on what council's wish is, short-term for next fiscal, and as well as long-term for the next 5 to 10 years. We will have to identify it within our CIP. The expenditures will have to be approved by the state in order for us to receive the funds.
The initial 500-something, I thought I saw the number was larger than that, but that's down the road.
Yes, so it won't fully be phased in until 2020. That's when the increase to the ZEV, the zero-emission vehicles, takes into effect. And it will only be on ZEV models 2020 and newer. So anybody on a current ZEV or has a current ZEV, I believe they will fall under the vehicle licensing fee increase, which is $25 to $175, somewhere in that range, depending on the value of the vehicle.
Okay.
So the $500,000 again would be just for year one. That's based on 7 months revenue, and then it goes up from there.
Great. Any questions for Regina? Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is city manager's items, of which there are none. The next item would be items requested by council members and future agenda items.
Any items from council? All right,
Not for me.
great. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.